With Samsung being the original innovators of the folding smartphone in 2019 with their first Galaxy Fold, I think they've really honed it in with the sixth iteration, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. It's a really great phone, but is it worth the money? I'm Mega the Tech Guy, and let's find out. So first off, I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the price of this device. It is MSRP of $1,900. And for a phone that costs almost double the modern flagships of today's times, I really don't understand that pricing. And now you can get it around $1,600 on Amazon if you check the pricing there. But for the most part, I think that pricing is a bit much. I mean, especially for what you're getting here. I do understand that it is a Galaxy Z Fold and it comes with Samsung DeX and it comes with all of these different features that Samsung packs into one device, and it's a multitasking powerhouse. That pricing really just doesn't sit right with me, if I'm being honest. And you know, that's okay. I feel like a lot of people may have differing opinions on the pricing of this device and they may find a lot of value out of it. But for me, that is a little awkward. But I did want to go into all the different ins and outs of this device, so I'm going to start off with build quality. And the build quality of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 is quite amazing, if I'm being honest. It's built brilliantly, it is very nice to hold in your hand, it's very weighty, and it just feels like a solid smartphone in your hand, even without a case on it. And then when you open it up and you go to that large display on the interior, that's what everybody's gonna want out of this device, because the front screen is actually quite narrow, and it is wider than the Galaxy Z Fold 5 and the previous devices. But for the most part, when you look at its counterparts like the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, even the OnePlus Open of 2023, those devices have more modern flagship screens at like around 6.3 inches, so they fit the size of more modern smartphones. This one, it just feels a little off and too narrow and tall for my hands, and I find that the typing experience on the front display, or doing a lot of things on the front display, is a little cumbersome. So when it comes to displays, of course you're going to want to open it more often, but that also comes with a downgrade of it being a more plastic screen versus the glass on the front. And for me, that is a little bit worrisome. You know, deeper grooves on accidents. If you open it up and you're using it a lot, it may see a lot of wear and tear. And for me, that's a little bit of an issue. When we talk in terms of build quality, it's definitely up there with a lot of other smartphones in its category, and even regular old bar slab devices. When you consider that inside display, it is large and you can see a lot of great content on it, and I can see where a lot of people are getting a huge amount of use out of it. I mean, you can do so much with this thing, especially on that large display. So you can watch videos a lot better. I think gaming is really great on this device for its display on the interior. What you're gonna wanna do a lot is use this as a two-handed tablet rather than a one-handed smartphone. Yes, the front display is easy to use side to side, but up and down is a little cumbersome, and there are different little things that you can do to help bring down the size of the screen on the front and whatnot to reach things, reachability options. All of that exists, but when you consider you're using your phone a lot of the times in bar format rather than tablet format, that's where I see a huge issue. Like I said earlier, with the Pixel 9 Pro Fold and the OnePlus Open, you're not seeing those issues. They feel like a regular smartphone on the outside. That to me already shows that it's not trying to compromise anything in the experience on those devices. But for this one, it almost feels like a compromise. And for that, I want to kind of knock it, where the build quality is great on the metal, on the glass, on the camera setup, and the colorway. Like, this is a beautiful color. Like, I want to say so many nice things about the build quality of the Galaxy Z Fold 6, but for the price considering, it feels like it weighs heavy on the fact that front display just isn't it for me. And that's the problem I have. It's like, sure, it works really well. It's 120 hertz on both the outer display and the inside display. It's 120 hertz, but for everything else about it, it just feels very not extra premium. So you're paying an extra premium price tier, like almost $1,900 MSRP, $1,600 if you get it on a discount. With the deals that you can see on eBay and Amazon, it's still way more expensive than a Galaxy S24 Ultra. So the build quality on the Galaxy S24 Ultra is wonderful. And a huge part of it is that it has an anti-glare display on that device. And so you can find that one for under $1,000 now. And with the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the S25 series coming out, you're probably gonna see a price drop in the S24 Ultra as well, even further. And you'll probably see it in the Galaxy Z Fold 6 a little bit too, but when you consider how expensive these devices are, that's the problem I have, is you're getting pretty premium quality for the build, and yes, that inside display is wonderful, and it does not even have a true cutout for the camera on the inside of the display, and that is a little bit of an issue. I mean, you can still kind of see the camera in that display because the pixels are kind of spaced apart weird, so like it kind of covers it, but it doesn't. If you look at it at the right angle, you can still see that there's a camera in existence there, and it definitely feels like early versions of that tech, which is really weird because if you look at like the Red Magic gaming phones, they've pretty much made it non-existent. The first iterations of those devices definitely had some pixelation that you could see up at the top if you really looked for it, but now it almost feels like the camera's not even there until you open it. But for this one, it definitely shows, and you can kind of see it on there, and it's covering the camera, which does hinder the quality of the selfie camera on the interior of this display. I'll get more into that into the camera section, but that also feels less premium. For me, I rather would have just had a punch hole in the display that wasn't covered so that I got a better camera on the interior, especially when you're using this wide open. You want to be able to have all the controls, and you want the camera to kind of be good for like video calls and stuff, especially if you're keeping it open. Obviously, you can turn it around and you can use the back cameras, which is nice, but at the same time, like if I just quickly want to do video calling and I want to see myself and I want to see them and all its glory on this big display, which I want to utilize the most and I feel like is the main option, that should not have a compromised camera. Again, for $1,600, I shouldn't be seeing compromises like that. And for me, that's where the issue is. Yes, it's built really nice. It has a large inner display, and even the front display isn't horrible. It's very serviceable for the most part, and I mean, people with smaller hands might find it even more serviceable. I don't have super huge hands, but I mean, like, I have decent sized hands, and that does tend to get a little cumbersome when I'm typing on this device, and I've noticed it every time I try to go and use it in message and stuff. It does kind of feel cramped. I did want to touch on the fingerprint scanner on this device in the build quality department. The fingerprint scanner does definitely hold up really well. It's really fast. It gets you into the device ASAP. And it's a side-mounted fingerprint scanner as opposed to an inner display fingerprint scanner, which is kind of funny with them having the in-display camera on the inside. They didn't put an in-display fingerprint scanner. It's probably due to size constraints and stuff like that. But the side-mounted fingerprint scanner definitely holds up and is super fast, and I wish we would kind of go back to like old-style fingerprint scanners where they were on the device and not in the display, because they are very quick. They get you in reliably all the time. Like I said, you just press the power button, you're in. You don't even really have to think about it. You're just in. And that for me is definitely a redeeming arc for this device, is that fingerprint scanner on the build quality. But as for the displays, that's where I kind of have an issue. When we take it as a whole package, the build quality, sure, it's wonderful. And I love how it feels in the hand, and I love that it's a little squared off and it's a little tapered off and whatnot, and it feels great. It's really weighty. I like the fact that it's weighty because then you feel like you're not going to drop it, especially not wearing a case on this device. That is definitely something to worry about, is it dropping and stuff like that, and I don't feel like I will with this in my hand. So when you consider that, it's wonderful and it's kind of a go, but with the price in mind, I don't think it's quite the go that it should be. So that is where I think people should be wary. Sure, the build quality is a go. It feels like a wonderful device. And if you like folding devices and you really want to stick with Samsung, definitely I would look into something like this, or wait for the Galaxy Z Fold 7, because that one, if it's any indication, like the special edition of the Z Fold 6 overseas, which also is quite a bit more expensive at like $3,200 or something like that MSRP. So that one does have a larger outer display, which in turn has a larger inner display, and it does feel like the Pro version of the Z Fold 6. If we're considering that device, which is way more expensive, so it's not worth this price either, considering you can get a regular size Pixel 9 Pro Fold and OnePlus Open even, and those both feel really great and feel like a regular smartphone when closed. Yeah, sure, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 Special Edition probably feels more like a regular smartphone in the hand and feels great. So if that's any indication for what the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is going to be, then sure, I would wait for the Galaxy Z Fold 7 to come out before you consider spending all this money on a device like this, especially for the build quality. So it's semi a go, but not really considering the price. Next, we're going to talk about software and performance. And Guys, if there is a part to this device that is really great, it is its stability, performance, and software in general. This is where Samsung truly shines, is they give you a lot of multitasking capabilities. They give you the ability to have the sidebar when you open this device up completely and you're utilizing it to its full potential. You can have split side-by-side view. You can have a third floating app. You can have Samsung DeX connected to your TV, running multiple apps on Samsung DeX wirelessly while you're using your phone to do multiple things at once as well separately. So all you would need is a Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse, and you can use Samsung DeX separately if you wanted to watch TikTok and read up on the TikTok ban. Considering everything happening, oops. Well, that's what I'm saying. You can definitely do any and everything. You can play a game while you're browsing Facebook and utilizing another app on the side as well. So there's a lot to be had with the multitasking capabilities and the software of this device. I really do love Samsung DeX, but when you consider that most of what you can get with this, aside from the larger inner display, you can get on a Galaxy S24 Ultra, I think that device is more worth it when it comes to all of those multitasking capabilities, because that device still has a rather large display and it's no slouch with its Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy, just like this has. So yeah, it has everything pretty much that this device has, but it's giving you less compromise for the price, if that makes sense. So yes, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is a blazing fast phone. Everything opens really great, even on the front display. You browsing through your social media on TikTok or wherever you happen to be, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, everything you're using on this device feels instantaneous and it feels buttery smooth all the time. This phone flies. It can multitask like a boss, and that is impressive to me. So of course the performance is awesome on this device. Performance should be awesome on this device for that price. So when you consider everything from scrolling, browsing the web, going through all the settings, if you wanted to, you could download GoodLock on this device and customize it to your heart's content with GoodLock and that app. Go bananas. You can do that because it is a Samsung device and you can do any and everything you want to. They throw everything in the kitchen sink into this device and it feels blazing fast while doing all of it. And that's great. I think that's a great thing to be had here. If you are looking for a larger inner display foldable device and you want a tablet format a lot of the time, but want to occasionally use the outer display as a regular phone and put that in your pocket and carry it around with you when you have a dual working device, of course the performance is amazing. And that's where I think it definitely has a leg to stand on when it comes to the price point that you're getting for this. Sure, it's a lot of money, but you do get a lot of features. You get a lot of software support, so you're getting quite a few updates and you're getting all the software benefits that Samsung has to offer in their One UI experience. So for performance, software, and stability, I think the Galaxy Z Fold 6 holds up tremendously well, and it is definitely a major go in that department. Next, we're going to talk about cameras on the Galaxy Z Fold 6. And this is, again, where I think they're kind of compromising a little bit, especially for the price. I think it's really upsetting that we're getting the Galaxy S24 cameras on a device that costs $1,600. You could regularly find the Galaxy S24 for literally like $1,000 less, if not a little bit more, online. And for me, that is insane. Why would I want a camera suite on a device that's cost $1,600 that doesn't even beat a phone that costs $1,000 less than it? I'm gonna shut up a little bit. I'm gonna show you some images and I'll give you my thoughts afterwards. So yeah, you've seen those images, they're great. They have Samsung's color reproduction, it looks great on portrait mode, all the different use cases of all 3 different lenses, whether it's ultra wide, wide, or telephoto, you are getting a nice and decent experience. There are some cases where you can go up to 30 times zoom, and it's a little upsetting that Galaxy S24 Ultra can get up to 120 times zoom and has a 200 megapixel camera. It does very much feel watered down when you consider that, and for me, I think that upsets me, that you're not getting the top tier cameras, which they totally should have thrown in here. Even if it made the device a little bit thicker, they really should have done that. I think they did end up putting the 200 megapixel onto the special edition. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw it on Unbox Therapy, and I believe they actually put the Galaxy S24 Ultra cameras in that device, but they also raised the price heavily on that. So it just doesn't justify whether you get this one or the special edition for the camera suite. Sure, they're great photos, and if you did get this device, I don't think you'd be super upset that you got this level of camera on the back. It's just a little bit bothersome that you get these little touches of a regular camera suite, and then you get that inner display camera like I was talking about earlier, that it's pixelated and it comes back on, but you're through the screen, it's under the display, so those pictures are kind of washed out on occasion and feel very muddy, and there's a lot of processing to them. And I threw up some there so you guys see, just so you could understand what I mean, but it just isn't top tier quality when it comes to cameras, and that for me, it kind of bothers me. It may be a go for some people, especially if that's not what you bought this for, but if you're looking for cameras, I would clearly go with the Galaxy S24 Ultra for much cheaper. But if you must have the tablet format with the inner display, then sure, if this one's for you guys, go ahead and pick it up and spend your money. I'm not going to tell you that you're wasting your money. It's just that I feel like you're being compromised for your money. So they're kind of a go. Obviously, they're great cameras because the S24 has great camera suite. But when you consider price into this, man, I just can't give it the full major Miggy the Tech Guy pass. So that one is for you to just kind of tread lightly on. If you are going to pick this phone up, it's definitely not for the cameras. It's for that display in general and using it to multitask. So yeah, cameras are iffy. They're kind of a major go and they're kind of not. Next, we're gonna talk about battery life. And yeah, this is where I think it really goes downhill for me, is the battery life on this device just doesn't match what you're getting to use as a powerhouse. It's much lower at 4,300 milliamp hours than a lot of devices out there. And for me, that's just too low. It feels like a 5-year-old device when it comes to the battery. And for me, yeah, it can get you through a day maybe if you're using moderate use, but if you're a heavy user, which I think on a device that's this large and doing a lot, you're definitely gonna be a heavy user. This is what you're buying it for. And I think you're gonna be a little upset with that because you're gonna be multitasking through the day, doing a lot of stuff, and you're gonna be pretty much out of juice by the end of the day and have to top it up. And at that, the charging speeds on this device are much lower at 25 watts. Versus 45 watts for the Galaxy S24 Ultra. So again, you're watered down on the experience in the battery department even, and the charging on both fronts. And so you're not seeing the battery life that you would in the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but you're paying much, much more money. And that's where I keep having the problem, is I feel like you're taking a lighter to your money when you purchase this device, and the battery life shows that a lot, in my opinion. The battery life is definitely one of the hugest issues I've had with this device, is the battery life. So for me, this is not a go in that department. I think the battery life, it leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion, especially for me using it as a heavy user. I wanted to push its limits. I wanted to multitask. I wanted to use Samsung DeX wirelessly, casting it to my TV, and I wanted to do all this stuff. And I feel like that is a huge no-go for me. The battery life on this device is just not it. It doesn't hold up to what it boasts of what its capabilities are. With the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, with 12 gigs of RAM, with so much going for it in the performance department, you would think that they would try to do something with the battery life and at least optimize it a little bit better. I don't know. For me, I wasn't having great battery life on this device. It was dying much before I ended my day, especially when I was really heavily using it. For me, as a heavy user, I just cannot recommend this device. So if you're going to look for battery life, if that's something that you're very concerned with, I would kind of steer away from this device, and I'd try to check out a Galaxy S24 Ultra if you can. Again, you're still getting a large display, 6.8 inches, I believe. So you're still getting a lot of real estate, but you get all of the features and more. Battery life, faster charging, you get all of the capabilities of this device aside from the larger inner display. So when you take all of that into consideration, yeah, the battery life is just not a go for me, guys. I'm sorry, it isn't. Lastly, we're gonna talk about gaming. And this is another redemption. I did speak on how the performance and all of that with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. I think gaming is awesome on this device, especially with that large display. I played Fortnite, I played emulation games, and I was just really thoroughly enjoying myself. Even playing Jetpack Joyride and playing Subway Surfers on this device was kind of fun. Even though it wasn't taking up all the space on the big display, it does sit there, but it gives you a lot more real estate to hold and play when you want to. So for me, it's not as cumbersome to play any games. So gaming on this device is actually a real treat. I enjoyed the gaming experience wholeheartedly. It was one of the first things I posted on my Twitter account, that I really enjoyed the gaming. I won a match playing it off camera, and I posted a screenshot of me with this phone and a first place battle royale on Fortnite. Yeah, I do enjoy it for that reason. Just like the performance, the gaming on this device is amazing. I would put it there. This is one of those things that is major go. If you're gonna buy it for any reason, if you like to mobile game, that's kind of a huge deal. I think it plays really well. But the problem is it coincides with that battery life. If you care about battery life as a mobile gamer and you want the larger display, you're definitely gonna kill this device before the day ends. I'm just letting you know that. It's taken a toll on this phone, and the battery's not large enough to really handle extreme mobile gaming. Even though the performance boasts it and can definitely handle it with ease, the battery is gonna die before you wanna stop playing if you're a hardcore gamer and you enjoy a large display experience. So for that, it is a major go, and it does get a little knock for the fact that the battery life kills it. And that's really kind of an issue. So all in all, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 is an amazing device. It's great through and through to use as an experience. Like I said, the performance, all of that stuff, it's amazing to use. I love it. But I cannot recommend this device for its price. I feel like you're burning your money, you're just throwing it away. It's just not worth it. Go for the Galaxy S24 Ultra. You're gonna have an amazing experience with that, or even wait for the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Or if you don't really care about this form factor, go for the Galaxy S25 Ultra or the Galaxy S25 series, because I think you're gonna have an overall better experience in my opinion. So if there's anything you should go for, it's definitely go for one of those other devices. I wouldn't really recommend this device to anybody. I don't really see a user base for it. It just feels like a waste of money when you consider everything else out in the market. There's just so much more value to be had for a lot less money is what I'm saying. So sure, you could disagree with me. Maybe you love the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Maybe it's a great companion device. Maybe you can afford it and you don't care about the money that you spent. For me, to all of my viewers, I feel like I just can't recommend such an expensive device with so much compromise in so many departments. It has a few redeeming things, but I just cannot recommend it at that price. It has to come down half the price that it is, and then I would recommend it because of what it offers. So all in all, the Galaxy Z Fold 6, it's a great phone, but it's not worth the money. I'm sorry guys, it does not get a true approval from Iggy the Tech Guy here. If you guys disagree with me, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'm interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are on the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and phones like it. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask those as well in the comments. And that's it for the video, guys. If you really liked it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. If you really, really liked it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get more content from me. And as always, I'm Iggy the Tech Guy, and I'm out. Peace.